Welcome to the recording. So we will get started. Let's take a look at the agenda for today. So what we will be speaking about today is actually we'll first cover, we are a very diverse group today, so we want to shortly cover who's e-learning force and what is LMS365. After that, we will dive into the good stuff and see how you can use LMS365 within Microsoft Teams. We will take a look at how and when it would be a good time to create a channel when you use the LMS365 app. We will take a look at the dashboard. We will look at how the bot is working, and we will share some learning material, how we share some learning material between our users and how we use Power BI. At that point, if there's any direct related questions to what Mads and Travis are showing you, we're taking a short Q&A at that point, and then we'll dive into some frequently asked questions and also some questions that we received when you signed up for this meeting. And by the way, thank you so much also for submitting. It has been overwhelming with all the comments that we got already, so that's fantastic. And at the end of this meeting, we will go in and take a look at which questions do you have after the whole thing. So there will be time for questions at the end, some questions, and the questions that we don't have time for, or if it's too technical or too specific, we will address them afterwards. So feel free to add your questions in the notes, or ask questions loud and clear as well. Let's get started. Travis and Mads, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Jane, and also good morning from my side. I'm a senior business manager here with e-learning force, so I have on a daily basis contact with our partners and also in customers. I'll just walk you through some intro just to LMS365 and Teams, or also to cover the diverse crowd we have here today. So for those of you who already know us very well or are partners, I mean, feel free to grab a cup of coffee or something like that. But anyways, I'll just get started if we can get things to work out here. So having said that, just a very brief intro. We have been around for quite some years now, and also have quite a nice user base. We are working, as you might know, through a network of trusted partners worldwide, and we have just earned here recently the Teams IP co-sell status with Microsoft. So we are very close with Microsoft and are in close cooperation with them when it comes to engaging our customers as well into to LMS in Teams, what we'll talk about today. So we have a pretty clear vision for using LMS365. As you might know, we are a one product company, so we are focusing all our efforts on LMS365, and the vision is to make you able to create, deliver, and track training inside your existing infrastructure, being Office 365. As many of you might know, we have historically been using SharePoint Online as sort of the main delivery application, if you like. But as we see, more and more are moving into to the use of Teams. That's the topic for today, and I must say that we ourselves have been using Teams for some time now, and I must say that it has more or less eliminated the use of internal email, that is. So today would be about, as Jan said, how to, with hands-on in real life, how to use LMS365 for Teams. But before we dive into that, I'll just hand over to Travis to get an overall picture of sort of the status of the learning culture and digital transformation. Travis.
Thanks, Mads. So I'm just here to take a quick intro on the why and what is the top challenges that we're hearing in the marketplace from all of our customers and other people that we're talking to in the learning and development role. And we've seen three key issues time and time again, and we're listing them out here in no particular order, but building a learning culture is really a huge issue that learning and development departments are focused on, and specifically a collaborative learning culture where people are interacting with one another, helping each other out, and being able to learn from each other. A second issue is digital transformation of learning, going from something that could be a more classroom-based scenario to something that is more focused on modern ways of working. And the third is then also not just developing the existing workforce, but those newcomers who might be from a different generation and might be also used to interacting in a different way. And one of the things that has really transformed our method of approaching these challenges is Microsoft Teams. And of course, that's what we're going to be talking about today. But just in order to keep the why in focus, these three issues are really at the top of our minds whenever we're talking about how LMS365 is being used, be that either via SharePoint as a traditional web portal, but very, very importantly also via Teams. And I know that, Mess, you were going to address some of the questions that we received in regards to channels and teams and how these things work in praxis, especially in regards to LMS365. So I guess I'll just hand over to you and you can take over from there.
Yeah, thank you, Travis. That's exactly right. And as Janne said, thank you very much for submitting all your questions previously. That has been truly overwhelming. I would say that what we're looking at today, again, as I said initially, is to give you a hands-on experience on how you can actually utilize Teams or give you an idea about how to use Teams on a daily basis for your training and learning needs. Teams is structured, as you can see here on my left side here, you have a series of teams, and in each team you can actually create a set of channels. So you can see if I have this learning team here, this is my demo environment, I'd say, I can simply add a channel here. You can have as many channels as you like in a certain team, but let's say that you have this HR project team, and I would just use the channel here. That's the project, and in the channel you have a conversation, persistent chat here, and you have the opportunity to share files, and this is actually where it all takes place from our point of view here. So you could imagine that this is a project channel for, let's say, for HR project, and then the project manager here, in this case that would be me, wanted to share some specific training with the rest of the team. So the way that I'm doing that is I'm simply using the tab icon here at the top, and up here I'll just search for LMS365. That's probably better. Like this, and then this app here would appear, and it will ask me a few questions on how I want to use this, and be aware that this is already included in your license, so you don't have to purchase anything else. This is already in there. So if you go to Teams and do the same things that I'm doing here, you will also get the same view here. So what I want to do now is I want to promote a specific course here, a course or training plan. So I'll just tick this box here or set my dot here. I'll give it a name, so I'll call it, this is the onboarding course. I just want to share this with the team so we can discuss if the content is relevant. So I'll just find the URL, and I have the URL open here in my SharePoint site. So just copy this, move back, and I'll paste it, and I'll save it. So what's happening now is actually that the team is getting ready to, you could say, promote this specific course here inside the environment of Teams. As you can see here, now it's already set up for me here. There's a few things to pay attention to, because some might say this looks a little bit fiddly, or this is too busy. So if that's the case, you can simply just make the screen bigger. And you can also push this button up here to have a conversation just around, so you can actually have a chat around this course here. So everybody that's a member of this course here will now be able to chat here. So I could just send out a message here, say, hi, guys, please check out this course before we meet next week. I'm giving the opportunity here to have this persistent chat only around this course here. And you could also use this for mentoring purposes if you need that. So if someone gets stuck or have questions to the content or something else, they could simply just, and you can see now Travis is actually on the call here, and that's very nice of you, Travis. I think I'll give you a heart for that comment. Not often people thank me. So that would be the idea here, to have a discussion around the course itself, and I can just minimize this as well. And as you can see, there are a number of I wouldn't say number, you cannot see that, but you can add as many tabs as you like. And another idea here is, I mean, just let us see how things look in here. So I'll just I think I'll minimize the chat here, and I'll maximize my window, and then I'll actually try to show you how the player is actually behaving in Teams, because I'm sure that many of you, or most of you, are probably using SharePoint, but it's the same thing. You could say that Teams is basically a sort of advanced skin for SharePoint, so it's the same things that we're just embedding in the Teams interface here. So you can actually see now this is a PDF that opens up Word Online. Use it the exact same way that you would expect it. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Everything works the exact same way. So I'll not spend too much time on this one here. Just letting you know that it looks fine and it works fine. The thing that I can do, let's just pretend now that the everybody has been using the course here. So I'll simply just remove it again. So just do it like this, and I'll remove it. So you could say that now this was just an example of how to utilize the training inside of a project course. But this could also be, let's say that a line manager of a sales team wants to promote something, bring the content of the course as close to his users as possible. And in the same sort of a bigger perspective, add relevance to Teams. I mean, why should I use Teams? I mean, this is a very good occasion to use Teams. So you can bring the learning right under the nose of your learners. So you can promote the courses, and you can take them down once they're done, and you can promote, let's say, training of the week, something like that. So that's just one way of using that. But no, Travis, you also have a few examples on how to use the bot and the dashboard.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mess. And that was a really good example of, being able to promote things, to send things out within a specific team or a specific functional group. And exactly as you mentioned, I would like to show a little bit about how a person can see their own training and can interact with our app like that. And I'm not seeing my ability to, oh, there's my request control right there. Okay, perfect. So everything Mess has been showing is just all completely embedded within the standard way of doing things within Teams. We also have an app which you can access here on the left-hand side. Just click this LMS365 app, and what's going to do is it's going to open us directly into the chatbot. And what this chatbot is there for is to help users navigate the courses that are available for them, and to just automate some of the simple requests that an HR or learning and development department might have to deal with on a daily basis. And a good way to just wake this thing up is to type help, for instance. And what happens here is our chatbot is then activated. And at this stage in the game, it's really being used as a method of navigating a course catalog, and seeing what types of training is available for this specific person. So this could be an example of somebody who's preparing for their annual review and wanting to come with relevant training plans within the organization. And if we just click on training plans, it will come up with those training plans that are accessible in the system. We can browse through them in this tile, and we can jump straight into a training plan, potentially even enroll ourselves into a training and complete it without ever having to leave this chat interface. We also have access to the dashboard. And for those of you existing customers, you should be pretty familiar with this layout. And this is the identical layout that you would also have within the web portal. And here we have, of course, all of the training that Mess is in progress with. He's a very busy person. We could see his completed training, his certificates, any competencies that are set up, just like you would within the web portal. You're also even able to drill down and show your team. If you're a team lead, which Mess is here, we can just click on his team overview and see his direct report, see what's going on with Bill. And we can even drill down further and see what's going on with Bill's direct reports. So you can get an idea of overdue courses, expired courses, and certificates, just as you can within the user interface within SharePoint Online. One specific integration that I think is really, really great is the ability to chat with each other and to send recommendations, because I feel that in now today's day, with all of the AI recommendations we're being bombarded with, that I really place a big value on a living, breathing person suggesting something to me. So for instance, I could have been at lunch yesterday and I could have been talking with one of my colleagues. I could have been talking with Jane, for instance, and talking about how OneNote has really revolutionized how I'm able to be productive on the go. And when I come back to my desk, then I can just click on this LMS365 app within the chat. And this allows me to search my course catalog, find something that has, truly changed my my perspective on things, and then send this to Jane as a tile where she can then click in the same way that the chatbot was allowing, and enroll herself into the course that I really thought would be a really great tool for her in her personal and professional life, to organize all of her kids' drawings and travel for business and all of that stuff. So that is one thing that I really like. And Mess, I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about tracking and Power BI. So I guess I'll hand that over to you now that we've gone through a whole lot of the actual end user interaction.
Yeah, thank you, Travis, and thank you for sharing how you're storing your kids' drawings. I mean, I might delve into that a little bit to see if I can use it the same way. I'll just, not to confuse myself too much, see if I can. Okay, I'll just use this with my little head on. It's a little bit confusing here, but anyways, as mentioned, also just for tracking, that we know that most organizations have a need for some tracking or some reporting. You can also use Teams for that. As you know, we have Power BI reports that many of you might have implemented, or maybe you even have your own. And the way you can use this in here, you can again hit the tab here and you just write Power, and then Power BI will come up, and you basically use it the same way that I just suggested before. So I could just call it Power BI LMS365 reports or something like that. And then I'll just select a report from the list, what I have access to, hit save. And if everything turns out the right way, now it will be set up here in the framework or the UI of Teams again. So just an example, I mean, again, really brief, is just a few clicks. We have already pre-configured and pre-prepared everything to be displayed very nicely within Teams. And I would say on a side note, though, on getting used to Teams, I would say that what we can see is that most customers, they choose either SharePoint or Teams as, you would say, sort of the delivery platform or the UI for the learners, that they use either the SharePoint or Teams to sort of to be as sort of clear and simple as possible. And we can see that more and more are looking towards Teams, more and more are exploring Teams. But what we have gathered, we just had a partner conference last week. The feedback that we get is that some organizations, they are having a little bit of a hard time or difficult times to figuring out how to use Teams. And I would share that, as I mentioned to begin with, Teams has meant a tremendous lot for us internally here in our company. We basically don't send any internal email anymore. So everything is about adding relevance. And I would say, if you have that agenda, we want to minimize email, then you would foster a culture of using the chats or the Teams for communication, sharing files. It works very, very well. So all the attached files doesn't, pile up in individual email boxes, but everything gets stored here on the Files tab in each channel, for instance. So the more relevance you add to Teams, in this case, today we're talking about LMS365, the reports, the more the learners, they will find their way in there and sort of adopt the tool, because it is very straightforward, very contemporary, chat-based. It's just a very nice tool, I'll say. Then I think I would hand it over to Jane here if we have an FAQ session. Yeah. Exactly,
because we do have some questions that we received when you submitted your interest here, and actually one of the question was that do you already have some content that you can put into LMS 365? Do we have that available that they can just take and use as is?
Yeah, and thank you for that question, Jane. Yes, we have some options here. We have, for instance, we have a partner with Storyals that are doing story-based Office 365 trainings. It's very, very nice. We also have some Microsoft Learning Pathways regarding Office 365 adoption that we can provision to your LMS. But I would stress, though, that we are more of, as I said, of one product company. So we build the platform and sell the platform. But in this case, we have the ability to provision Office 365 related trainings that you can get. But reach out to your partner or your representative, and we can have a discussion about that one-to-one.
Fantastic, thank you, Mads. And I can actually see there is a question there, and just so everybody can hear the question and the answer. Travis, do you want to answer Lynn here?
Yeah, sure thing. And it was regarding the LMS 365 button in the left pane. Instead of accessing it by the three dots, how to have it pinned essentially within that pane. And this is something that the Teams admin can configure. And since I am not a Teams admin, I don't exactly know how. But if there is somebody that needs a more detailed guide on how that happens, then you can just let us know, and we'll be sure to put you in touch with somebody that can help you with that. But it's a group policy thing. It's not something that the individuals are turning on and off.
Thank you so much, Travis. And I see that we do get a question here on Power BI and API, that you would like some more info about that, and we will send that directly to you.
Perfect. And just to touch real briefly on that as well, yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, we do have an API, or I'm sorry, a Power BI package, which includes all of our dashboards, implementation, and training on how to change those dashboards. So you're of course able to access Power BI on your own and configure it. But for those who are looking for the quick and fully configured from day one version, just let us know and we'll be happy to send some information about that as well.
And Robert is quickly here also. He just added the link into where you find that in our help center, how to pin the LMS 365 in Teams. Thank you very much, Robert, for that. We do have another question here. So how does this work with SharePoint? LMS 365 also work in SharePoint, so you can choose one or the other, but how does it interact? Mads, is that something that you want to elaborate on?
Not to get too technical, but I mean, you could say that as I might have mentioned that Teams is more or less SharePoint in fancy clothes. So that's why we are able to sort of embed the SharePoint content. I mean, it's not quite as simple as that, but still, that's the idea behind it. So everything you store in Teams is, ultimately stored in SharePoint. So that's why there's a very close relation between those two applications. I'd say so. That is the very brief answer to that. But again, from a user's point of view, they can get the full LMS 365 experience in Teams or in SharePoint. That just depends on, I would say, on what you as an organization, what suits you the best. And there are, a ton of different reasons why one would be better than the other. And we really shouldn't dive into this today. But I hope just to give you sort of the headlines here, how things work.
Great, thank you so much. And then we actually also have a question here asking, is it mobile responsive?
Well, it will be.
We're not just taking the easy questions here.
No,
so.
I can sense that, and know from our product development they're working really hard on also the on the LMS part being mobile within Teams. And we are waiting for some development from Microsoft. So we are already just waiting to get it up and running there. But unfortunately, we have to wait for Microsoft making tabs available in the Teams mobile application. So until then, you'd have to use our native mobile application, both for iOS and for Android. So yes, you can be mobile with LMS 365. Don't hold yourself back.
Great, thank you so much, Mads. And while you answered that question, another one came up. If we do really have a real use case scenario from a customer, and yes, we do. It is in the early days. We see it spread more and more. And Ole was so friendly here and helpful to send the link to a case as well. Thank you so much. When we're talking about Microsoft Teams and LMS 365, Travis, does this have any license impact?
No, it doesn't. Of course, Teams is part of all of your Office 365 subscriptions, and the LMS 365 app for Teams is part of all of your LMS 365 subscriptions. I'm not sure if there's anyone who's attending this session who is not currently a customer, but if that's the case, then please just reach out for any licensing questions about the LMS 365 application.
Fantastic, thank you so much. I'm wondering, is there any questions out there that we can help answer right now? And you are allowed to speak out too. Let's take the last question from my side, Els. And while we're talking about that, you can type the last question in. So we had a discussion around discussion forums using LMS 365 in Teams. How does that work best, Mads or Travis? Can you do it even before the course start, or is that how's that experience?
Well, the idea is with the discussion forums, and that's actually a nice thing, because normally a discussion forum or a chat, if you like, is related to a channel, or you have a one-to-one chat or multiple persons chat, just like from any other chat tool. But the nice thing here is when you add a course like I did with the tab, then you also have a conversation around that specific course here. So you can actually sort of keep the you can keep the chat or keep the conversation going specifically around that course and discuss things that's just related to that course, instead of having to discuss in sort of the main channel chat, because things might get a little bit blurry when you're on course number 10 and everything is running in the same stream of chat. So that's why, I mean, the best case scenario would be to have the chat around the course or the content, if you like. That makes the most sense.
Great.
I don't know if you have anything to add there, Travis.
No, I agree. There was also a question that just ticked in about whether or not a Teams channel for programs to encourage social learning would be an option, and that's sort of in the same range of your answer. And I think absolutely, because these types of conversations are going to happen between employees anyway. People coming with external videos, people coming with book suggestions and so forth. And it's a really great opportunity for a learning and development team to capture that knowledge and be able to help push that out to even more people by having that as part of a learning and development team or an HR team, wherever it would fit most seamlessly within your organization. And that's something that we hear a lot, both for book clubs, for social learning forums, for mentoring connections. So while it's not technically a feature of LMS 365, it just fits really well together.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, thank you everybody for participating. This was the end of the questions that we had for today, where we have been speaking about how you can start building a learning experience with LMS 365 in Microsoft Teams. Please, you're here. We have recorded it all and we'll share it afterwards. Hope to see you next time. Thank you, Mads and Travis, and thank you to everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.